Everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 242, being recorded on March 13th, 2013. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Alan Malentano.
Now Morry Titleman.
We are minus one Jeremy, who apparently has a case of the death, who's apparently living on a toilet. I don't understand. Face first, butt first. I don't really know.
Jovi song?
What's that?
Isn't that like a Bon Jovi song?
on a ceramic horse I ride.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So we actually have no foreigners on the podcast. Or did we check with regulations? Is that okay? No. We're not sure. So we'll get back to you on that. If this episode never comes out in publication, now you know why. It's also probably going to be a short one. Not a whole lot of stuff happened. I have been swamped with a bunch of other things, programming, graphs, data. It's all kinds of fun. But let's talk about things that maybe did happen. We did publish 2 articles. One of them is another power supply review. We get one of these about a week now from Lee, which is good. There's a lot of power supplies out there. Not a lot of people are doing reviews of them. So this time we took a look at the Silverstone Strider Plus ST60, which is a fully modular 80-plus silver power supply. I'm guessing by the model number that we're looking at, the 600-watt version. So you've got that to look forward to. Let me go ahead, in the essence of time, skip to the end and show you what we got. Weaknesses: cooling fan can get noisy at max load. Strengths: very compact chassis, only 5.5 inches deep. Please no jokes, Josh. Capable of delivering 600 watts continuous, 24/7, and it did get a gold award from PC Perspective, which is a great review website for power supplies. So check out that review if you are in the market for a 600-ish watt unit. And then let's move on to the next story, maybe a little bit more interesting.
Not really, because I want to see Lee wrap these power supplies in saran wrap and then run them.
See how long until they catch on fire?
Yes.
Well, I think we could probably do that if we don't tell his homeowner's insurance. Maybe. And
it would be a YouTube sensation.
It would also be one of those ones. Maybe make sure it's one of those tests that we don't start and leave for dinner or something like that, right? Make sure you're there on hand with the fire extinguisher. Just an idea.
Right.
But let's talk about Richland, which is a new AMD APU, a revised AMD APU. This is a new desktop and mobile processor. Is that right, Josh?
That's correct. They're originally releasing this as a mobile product. It's going to be called the A10 5750M.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're hitting the mobile first, and they're calling it Richland. And it's not all that exciting in terms of hardware.
But look at that woman. She is intently staring.
She is intensely looking.
Yeah.
I think she's unlocking something with the software, if you know what I mean.
No, I don't.
Well, she's not very photoshopped, and I think they used an Intel processor to do the photoshopping. But don't tell anybody at AMD that.
Fair enough.
No, Richland is kind of interesting. They've basically taken Trinity, they've applied some process tweaks to it, and then they did a whole bunch of software stuff in terms of low-level programming and BIOS and microcode, and they made it more efficient in terms of power. Now, they haven't done anything to improve IPC. It's still the same dual module pile driver based cores. It still has the same VLIW4 GPU portion. Nothing was really added in terms of memory, except on the mobile side, you now have support for DDR3 1866, where previously the fastest you could do was DDR3 1600L, or low power memory for the mobile part. But yeah, a lot of stuff that they did was really more software. So they added more P states. Mm-hmm. They have more aggressive algorithms that share power in between the GPU and the CPU. So the first thing you notice is that there's an extra 200 megahertz at the base clock and the turbo clock as compared to the last generation A10 4600. Well, same generation essentially, but still.
Right.
It's that one is a 2.3 gigahertz base, 3.3 gigahertz boost, or turbo, whatever they want to call it. And this new one is 2.5 gigahertz, goes all the way up to 3.5 in turbo modes. And again, they did raise the clocks on the GPU portions by about 30 megahertz. And they're a lot more aggressive in power savings.
Right.
And so, even though this isn't a new part, it's not a new process technology, they were able to, increase efficiency overall by a nice amount. It's not mind-blowing, but it's decent. With the video playback, I believe they just enabled more functionality on the UVD. I forget which it is, UVD4.
Sure,
they're probably
why
calling
not?
this one.
Yeah.
So many acronyms, so many numbers. And so it runs a little bit better. And like I said, it's pretty much all software, all algorithms, and how it runs, and a little bit of process tweak to make it more efficient. And so the rebranding this Richland, it's now the A10 5000 series, and it's a nice little bump for them. And considering it's less than a year from the original release of Trinity, it's a little upgrade. I mean, it's not a Kaveri-based system,
Right.
which I can't remember what the mobile version of that is going to be called. But, it's still 32 nanometer, same process, still use Global Foundries, but they've done a ton of stuff. Now, they have added some value-added features in terms of programs. And it's stuff like, AMD
yeah.
Face.
You've got gesture control, face login, screen mirror,
Ooh, screen mirror.
quick stream, steady video, and perfect picture HD.
Yeah, the real new ones there is the AMD gesture. We've made fun of that before. You don't need, Kinect type sensor where it's 3D. It'll see if you wave your hand and do other kind of gestures.
Will it?
Yeah, you could, if you're jamming down to Motown and say stop.
This seems more like just a response to, like, Intel has been showing it, like at IDF last year, they showed that partnership with Creative and using gesture control and that kind of stuff. And this seems very reactionary thing, right? In the screen mirror that transmits a low latency stream from PC to any TV display with a DLNA receiver, that's like, what do they call it, wide-eye type stuff. Although the DLNA implementation is a little bit nicer. I don't really put that much weight behind these types of things.
No, I mean it's not exciting, but it is a value-added feature.
Sure.
And that's what they're kind of hoping for.
For OEMs especially.
Exactly, and that'll be checkbox things. And, how many people are going to use them? I mean, sure, your hands are covered with egg and flour and you're flipping a recipe screen, but that's going to be the extent of it. I wonder what this is, or, well, I don't want to do any more hand gestures.
Not for the video version.
Yeah, and when AMD starts yelling, let me see your O face, you have gone too far with the hand gestures.
So is this a mobile part first or mobile part only? When will this be out on the desktop? And will you be able to, for people that are interested, will you be able to buy one of these APUs and put it in your FM2 Plus system, your FM2 system?
Eventually, it is going to be a desktop processor, but a lot of the tweaks that they've done at the 35-watt TDP range are not going to be as effective at the full 95 watts or 100 watts, whatever they decide to throw this at. And so, yeah, they're releasing it on mobile first. You're going to supposedly be able to buy these next month in April, and they're going to have lower power variants, like 25 watt and I think 18 watt TDPs later on in the first half of 2013.
Okay.
So we'll see some new SKUs out from AMD in mobile, but again, I would imagine after Computex, we'll see the desktop parts. But again, it's not going to be all that exciting. It's going to be just essentially a speed bump for these desktop processors that we've seen in the past, just because of improvements in process tech. So, AMD's keeping in there. They're trying to keep up best they can. They're pulling out all the stops to make their products as competitive as possible. But until they get Steamroller out there, and we don't know how well that's going to prove to be, and until they get 28 nanometer products out there, they're still going to be lagging quite a bit behind Intel and their latest 22 nanometer based Ivy Bridge products.
So let me ask you a somewhat off-topic question, but I think an interesting one. If we look at Richland, which is basically them taking an existing architecture, sprucing it up a bit, and attempting to resell it, and you look at something like maybe Solar System on the GPU side, which is simply taking Southern Islands, sprucing it up, making them 8000 series parts or whatever it is, and trying to resell that again. What does that say about AMD's focus as a company? Does it mean that they're falling further behind? Does it mean that they're simply reorganizing? Does it mean that that they're confident in their products and they're moving forward? What do you think that means as an overall stance on AMD?
Well, in terms of graphics, they're stuck in the same kind of situation NVIDIA is. NVIDIA kind of raised the bar by releasing a 550 millimeter square product that sells for $1,000, and AMD has not gone that far. I mean, there's no reason why AMD can't release something like that. They just don't see the market. They don't see the need. They probably just don't see the risk that NVIDIA is willing to take on that large of a product. They are still being aggressive because if you look at Jaguar, GCN, and the Kabini core and Timash, those are shipping right now to manufacturers to be implemented into products, and we're going to start seeing those very, very soon. Now, those are at least pretty interesting parts, and I think it's going to make as big of an impact on the company as the original Bobcat, and oh gosh, I can never think of the stinking code names of the entire platform.
Right.
But Kabini is an interesting product in its own right, and I think it's going to sell well. And Timash is going to do very well in tablets, and in fact, they're going to get far more tablet wins with that product than they had with the low power Bobcat and Zacate, I think was the low power version of that. So they're sticking around, and I think that they've just had so much reorganization, and you are to a certain amount chained to the roadmap that you had set 2 years ago in motion. And so they can only do so many changes to improve their stance and their product line. But it seems like Jim Keller, who came in from Apple, he's starting to make some changes, and I think he really buffed up the steamroller architecture and what they're planning to do with FM2. Not only keep it as a mainstream part, but I think that we're going to start seeing them move it to more of an enthusiast role. So we'll see how they do, if they can actually ship on time. And some other good news for AMD came out, but it was not related exactly to them. But we'll discuss that later about Global Foundries and something nice that they have shown to do.
All right.
Does that answer your question, or did I just talk in circles? And
a little. But I mean,
so
it was a very
monotonous.
hypothetical question, right? It's hard to answer, and I think the answer may differ on their CPU side than on their GPU side, as well. So, let's take a quick break here. Thank our world famous podcast sponsor before we move on to a handful of news items.
The all-new Z77 M-Power mainboard from MSI is poised to change the overclocking game. Every Z77 M-Power board will have a factory 24-hour military-class burn-in test completed before shipping. Additionally, performance-optimized features such as Go-To BIOS, Multi-BIOS 2, V-checkpoints, Bluetooth 3.0, and onboard Wi-Fi allow users convenience and total system control over their overclocking and gaming experience. This is the new endurance champion, Z77 M-Power from MSI.
World famous, I said. World famous. Thank you, MSI and Alex, for your support of the PC Perspective podcast.
He's such a nice boy.
He is. He's so nice. He's such a sweetheart. And hopefully we'll see him again very soon. Let's move on to some news items, some things that may or not be happening in the world of hardware. We have a story here that Tim wrote up about Steambox prototypes reaching developers within the next 4 months. This was apparently an interview that Gabe Newell gave after receiving an award for Portal 2, which apparently is still happening. I thought that would have been over by now. But he indicated that Valve would be sending prototype devices to customers within the, quote, next 3 to 4 months. The designs are not yet finalized, however, as evidenced by Newell's statement that the prototypes would be there to gather feedback on balancing heat, noise, and performance. He says, we are working with partners trying to nail down how fast we can make it. I don't know, did any of you guys see that video from XI3? What show was that from? Was that from Mobile World Congress, maybe? But they showed a mock-up, a version of their front-end interface for the piston device. Did anybody else see that?
No.
Okay. Well, it was basically an overlay where you could start Steam, you could start Origin, you could start Uplay, you could start Netflix, you could start whatever. Then this is when they started taking pre-orders for the Piston as well, starting at $999. And that was just as... What's that? South by Southwest. Right, sorry, not Mobile World Congress. That would have made a lot less sense. So it's interesting in that they're still trying to figure out what kind of hardware they'll be able to put in this. Let me look up that XI3 interface issue, because I think it's worth noting and trying to talk about what their pre-order price was for the kind of hardware you would get. Let's see. Let's open up that one, and then let's just go ahead and go to the XI3 website, because for the hardware, I had kind of a Twitter discussion back and forth with somebody about whether or not the $999 was really justified. Let's take a look. Do they have the Piston listed? This is the Xi3 modular powered by AMD, but I don't know if that's the. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty similar, but. Here we go. Available for pre-order. Where's the link? Come on. There we go. $999. So here it is. 128 gig SSD. 3.2 gigahertz quad-core processors, an AMD system. They don't list any other specs other than that. That's kind of dumb.
I wonder, it said 8 gigs RAM on it, Ryan. I wonder if they're trying to get that same chip that Sony's using, because Sony's machine also specified 8 gigs of RAM, but they were using DDR5. If they put DDR5 in that thing, then $1,000 would probably be justified.
That's an interesting thought. They didn't. I'm looking in here at the specs. I don't know if somebody in the chat, you can let me know if they actually put. If they said it was going to be like a Trinity part, that does just say quad-core processor, shipping 2013 holiday season. If it were the same kind of basic architecture that we saw with the PlayStation 4 announced, that would maybe make it more intriguing. Josh, you have any thoughts?
You know that the Kaveri has a GDDR5 interface. And not only that, but GDDR5 has an SODIMM specification that is identical to DDR4, and it's out. Well, okay, you can't buy the damn things, but the specification is ratified, and it's out. And in such a situation as this, if you had 8 gigs of fast GDDR5 that you can throw in a SODIMM, that would make a whole lot of sense in terms of performance and graphics for a product such as this. I mean, it's small form factor, obviously. It'll be interesting to see, but I think it's only Kaveri and the PS4 APU that's GDDR5 capable.
What's the AMD embedded R series processor? That's what it says it's using. AMD R464.
I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of it either. Discrete class Radeon HD 7000 series graphics. Supports dual graphics technology. Ooh. That's what it says it is. So we can watch this little mobile video on it. Oh, well, that's helpful. It looks like a Trinity-based part to me, maybe built for the embedded markets, right?
Probably.
Yeah. So,
I mean, Trinity is in ways was way overbuilt in when you consider power saving.
yeah.
I mean, with the original Trinity, they had all these thermal sensors all over it, but they weren't enabled. And in Richland, they're enabled, and they work to better control the turbo core type stuff. So, in that time in between, it takes the silicon to actually heat up and then start, shutting it down. Well, not shutting it down, but cranking the clock speed down.
Right.
They can have better response and a longer turbo time than as compared to their previous, fully digital.
Even
we think it's using this much power and dissipating this much heat.
even as cool looking and as small and interesting looking that is it? Do you think that's a product that people are willing to pay $1,000 for, which is essentially is a PC with a dedicated software overlay and a really cool engineered platform that gives you access to things like Steam and Origin and then all the web apps and stuff? I mean, for the hardware you're getting, it's definitely overpriced. And I think the person I was arguing with on Twitter was saying, well, look at all the engineering it takes to getting into this small space. And in my opinion, I don't really believe that Xi3 is somehow redesigning the world right with this platform. I don't think it's going to be as powerful as maybe people are guessing it's going to be. But I mean, is this Allyn or Morry or anybody? Is this something you think is $1,000 justified for this?
I don't think so.
No, I really don't think that's. I mean, you could build a PC that would run circles around that for $1,000.
Right,
Yeah.
but you're not getting the same form factor.
So
Well, I mean, if you want it for a family room or a movie theater room type device, then maybe. But again, you could build a PC for about that much, and
Yeah.
and
It's
you could
almost
get
like they're
a
splitting the-
comparable overlay.
it's only if you're looking
I
for the
mean,
coolness factor
a
of the
package,
shape of the thing,
but-
right?
Yeah, they're kind of. It seems like they're kind of splitting the difference between what the Sapphire and the Zotac. Really small form factor things that don't require any kind of active cooling, or if they do, it's pretty basic. These are little boxes that are about this size, require some better cooling, but has a performance that is skewed more towards the desktop than those small form factor products. So I don't know if there's actually a market that's willing to pay for something a little bit bigger, a lot more powerful, but at the same time a whole lot more expensive.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. There's just so much fervor about Steam's gonna make this thing, and they're gonna revolutionize PC gaming and all this kind of stuff. And I just don't think. I think at the end of the day, the reason we don't know much about the performance on it is because it's not going to impress us, and when you start to look at that metric, performance per dollar, it's going to look really bad. But I don't know. We'll find out more in the coming weeks. GDC is 2 weeks away, so it's very possible that there will be a lot of interesting information coming out about that too. Let's move on to some other news. NVIDIA is allegedly launching a Quadro K6000 based on GK110. I think we talked about the new Kepler-based, Fermi-based GPUs. Kepler-based Quadros last week or the week before, and we were talking about, there's no GK110 version. Well, apparently that's coming. The K6000 will actually have 13 SMX units, which is, I think, one fewer than the even the GTX Titan. Yeah, because it had 2,688 CUDA cores, so it's actually a little bit lower on that. But it is 8 times the price, according to Ken. Yeah, something like that. It'll be expensive. Well, no, it says here around $3,000, so only 3 times as much. But it's built for a different market, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's a Titan with a little bit less, but a little bit more expensive. Does it say how much memory it has? I don't know. If it has 12 gigs of memory, the card will likely have 5 gigs of memory. So if that's the case, then that doesn't make a lot of sense. But it could be on the way, so pay attention to that. Let's talk about something that this is a week or so ago, Alan, the introduction of we talked about last week Seagate getting rid of their 7200 RPM 2.5-inch drives in the future. And we think maybe this is part of the reason why, the SSHD.
I think they're going to just start pushing it more, which is evidenced by this press release that came out. What was it? That was only a couple days after the last week's podcast.
I think it was like the day after, yeah.
Yeah. So the 7200 RPM and above drives are just going to go away on the laptop form factors. And they're sticking with 7200 RPM for a little bit. Well, we don't know if it's a little bit longer or much longer, who knows, for desktop. But they're adding the hybrid technology into their desktop units. So 3.5-inch drives, up to 2 terabytes capacity with an 8 gig NAND flash cache, like a background cache. I wish the caching was a little bit higher because 8 gig is not that big of a cache, really. Unless the drive's really, really intelligent about what it's caching, which it can't be because it's just the hard drive itself. It only knows what sectors have been stored where. It doesn't necessarily know what the contents are. But it is what it is. We won't know just how good the technology is until it's released out there and we can take a look at it. It's obviously going to be faster to some degree than a standard 3.5-inch desktop hard drive because it's going to cache something in solid state. So that'll make it better. I just wish it had some more, basically. And I think they're running up against the limit on their controller, the hybrid controller technology, because notice the desktop, they said it's only going to be up to 2 terabytes. So there's probably a reason for that limit, is my guess.
Okay.
Something software.
I mean, is this... what kind of performance changes do you think that this will bring to desktop drives?
I think it's going to make it look exactly the same as what we saw with the Momentous XT. Just with...
Is that good or bad?
Say again?
Is that good or bad?
It's good. The most recent generation Momentous XT, the 750 gig model we looked at, it did a pretty good job on caching. I thought the cache was a little bit small for what it was doing. But for light to medium use, if you're just a typical kind of PC user, not doing anything, not doing a whole bunch of gaming, not doing just basically Office apps, web apps,
right,
stuff like that. Nothing real crazy. This will, if you're only doing that small to medium level of activity on this, that cache will probably hold most of your active data. So it'll act more like a solid state drive, more as if you had one installed. Except in the case of the desktop size unit, you'll just happen to have 2 terabytes of extra storage wrapped around it. Which is good. And the most recent Momentous XT, the one thing I noted was that it handles command queuing, so that's the feature that allows SSD type devices to scale up very well when you pile a bunch of IOs on them, and that data is in the cache. So
right.
I would imagine this would at a minimum be at the performance level of the 750 gigabyte Momentous XT we reviewed about a year ago? I think.
Sure, no clue.
Yeah, it was.
It's been a while though. Yeah, it definitely
has been a while. So I think they were just sort of overdue to do some sort of refresh-ish kind of thing.
I mean, do you see all the hardware vendors, all the hard drive vendors going to something like this?
I don't. Not yet. I think flash memory needs to become even cheaper for this to catch on because they're going to need more than 8 gig. And they're going to need a few generations worth of a caching type controller that just handles the load better. That can handle, higher capacities on the back end. In other words, larger hard disk sizes behind it and larger cache sizes. That's what's really going to make it more of a seamless thing. You put like a 64 gig flash memory cache in a 2 or a 3 terabyte drive, I think that would be very practical, especially if the controller is even halfway decent. It would be really good bang for the buck.
Okay. Some other news that hit the web. Apparently WebM, which is a video codec standard that was put forth by Google, probably a good while ago, right? 2 years ago or something like that was when this kind of started as an alternative to H.264, trying to avoid some of the MPEG LA complications. Well, as it happened, there were patent disputes or whatever, and apparently just last week, Google and the MPEG LA came to a conclusion where Google is allowed to access all the patents, which are essential to VP8 from the licensing firm and sublicense as they please. Everyone benefited from the deal, but apparently the day after that deal was struck, Nokia filed a patent against HTC, of all people, with VP8-based terms as part of the suit. And because Nokia is not a member of the MPEG LA, it is maybe indicative of, as Scott posts in our story, the first of many others who have patent claims against Google's video decoder. So while it may have looked like a really good thing, it might not be quite ready for mass public inclusion yet anyway. Plus,
Or it might just be trolling.
Well, likely. You would kind of hope that Nokia is not going to be trolling just for trolling's sake. They have specialized companies just for that. But it's possible that they're doing that. I don't know what Nokia gained. I guess Nokia is in big partnership with Microsoft. Is Microsoft part of this agreement, or in MPEG LA? I don't know. It's.
I think they're still cranky from having to sell off their really nice buildings.
Your argument was Nokia has companies for that. My argument is Microsoft has companies for that.
Like Nokia.
Nokia.
Yeah, that could be it. Speaking of selling off buildings, we didn't have a news post on this, but AMD did officially finalize their sale of their Austin campus for like 180 or 160 something $million, and that they are immediately leasing back from this company
For 12 years.
for 12 years. Has they agreed
Well,
to?
that's what the lease is for right now.
So now
yeah,
everybody knows how long AMD has, right? Is that what that means?
Okay, so why?
Yeah, it's actually kind of common for a lot of companies to do that. I mean, like I said, I think Nokia's done it. A bunch of others. AMD actually did it in 1998
With their
Sunnyvale campus. So I mean, it's it takes some money off the books. It gives them some short-term cash, and it's just a cost of doing business, I guess.
Yeah. Alan, you had a question?
No, I was just going to ask, like, why companies would want to do that. Then does the company that purchased it do all the maintenance for the building? Is that how it works? They're just sort of like...
It depends on what's in the contract, I'm sure, but the long-term owner is this other company who is now, probably making a profit off of the lease that they then signed back from AMD. But AMD's not, if AMD wants to leave in a year or 2 years or whatever, or they say, we don't want that building, we're just going to downsize, and now that's up to you to fill. We don't have to adjust for that or anything like that. That's the flexibility. But every time you find you get told that a company is selling off its offices, it puts a little bit of that feeling. If Josh knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but do I actually own my house?
I don't know.
Yes.
We don't know.
No, Ryan does.
I own it.
I pay him rent.
You do. You've actually been, because you haven't been writing a lot, your mortgage has just been carrying over mine every time. Yeah.
Damn it.
So let's get into our last news story. This is Josh just added it to our show notes here at the end. Pipo Max M9 RK3188. So that's a thing. 28 nanometer, high-K metal gate, quad-core, ARM Cortex A9 tablet. But why is it interesting? Why did you put this in here?
Well, there are a few other 28 nanometer HK metal gate Cortex A9 processors out there, including the Tegra 4i.
I don't know is it shipping yet? I guess it is.
Well, not yet, but anyway, and others. But what's interesting is that this is really one of the first Global Foundries 28 nanometer products that we've seen hit the scene. Because up until now, as far as I knew, they were shipping some basic processors to a couple of customers, and nothing in the mainstream or in any kind of volume whatsoever. So this is kind of a landmark piece for Global Foundries. That TSMC, of course, has been shipping 28 nanometer HK metal gate for, a year and 3 months plus. I mean, they've been producing it forever. it seems like, anymore. So, Global Foundries being able to do this now finally gets them on par with TSMC, and since they're still AMD's primary fab, we can hope to think that we'll see Kaveri in a decent time because they can actually ship product on this new and improved 28 nanometer HK metal gate process.
And we are watching a demo of the Pipo Max M9, and that is a calculator.
I don't think that runs on any Global Foundry silicon.
You don't think that calculator?
Probably not.
So he's doing the conversion. That is 1.2 does 1,200 Chinese dollars.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a good looking product. I think it's only going to be obviously mainland China. We're not going to see any of those here, but still, it's the RK3188 may not sell millions of processors, but
Likely
at least
that's not a big
they have a complex product. It's quad-core A9 with what I think some of the ARM Mali graphics, last generation stuff, the OpenGL ES 2.0. So, it's a positive step forward. They have working product coming off of their 28 nanometer line.
That's a plus. Working product. That's all the stuff I have in the show notes, guys. That can't be it, right? Allyn, Morry, something pop up, something come to you while we're sitting here talking about $190 Chinese tablets that we want to discuss.
So there I was trying to write my Crosshair 5 Formula XZ review.
We've been waiting for that, yes.
Yeah, that one today was kind of a bust.
Please entertain us.
No, don't.
Have you met my family?
Not yet.
So, Allyn or Morry, anybody, anything?
The Samsung S4 is going to be coming out this week.
Yeah, that announcement is supposed to be tomorrow, right? Well, Thursday. So if you're listening to this after the fact today,
so I'm not going to be able to brag about my S3 anymore.
Nope.
It's not the cream of the crop.
Welcome to the world of mobile devices where you are outdated in a year or less.
Yeah, Josh, what do you got, that clamshell style S3? That's freaking old.
My StarTAC? Yeah.
Yeah.
Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I'll be curious to see what kind of silicon that is based on. Have there been rumors about that?
They said something about using a quad core.
Yeah.
It's supposed to have a better camera than the S3, a little bit bigger screen. I don't think the screen isn't as big as a Note 2, but it's supposed to be a little bigger than the S3.
I bet it's
like
9 inches.
Slightly bigger than 5 and 1080p.
9 inches.
Yeah.
So, that whole Retina display is blown away by this particular Maha.
So, here's a question for Josh.
Yep.
Okay.
This happened with the S3. Why is America why is Samsung shafting America when it comes to their SoCs? Like, the rumor is, in the rest of the world, the S4 will have the little big Octo 8-core processor, and here it's going to have a 4-core, most likely.
I think it probably has to do with our cell network and the attached modems that they have. Everybody else in the world is GSM, and we're CDMA plus, and so I think that they're limited probably more by that than they are saying, hey, let's screw the Americans and give them a crappy product.
Yeah, but it seems weird. I mean, we have 2 GSM providers, and both of them sold S3s.
Some arbiter in the chat said that it's possible the LTE chip is taking up space that they need on the PCB.
The rest of the world uses LTE now, too.
They're starting to.
There's hundreds of LTE networks in the world now. I saw a list on Wikipedia the other day.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
it's possible that we could ask somebody about this type of stuff, maybe in a video interview format.
Oh.
Because after tomorrow, it will be able to be discussed.
Okay.
It's possible. Let's talk about that. More, Allyn, anything you want to bring up? You want to throw out to the group?
Nothing new storage-wise. Nothing I can speak of.
What can we expect from you in the coming week?
My kitchen counter is littered with Drobo.
That's disgusting. I haven't bleached it yet.
All right, does that insinuate that there will be an article based on Drobo products? Or
I hope so.
You
really do hope
and
so.
me both, son. You and me both. Morry, what do we have coming up from you this week?
Well, right now I'm finishing up a review on the MSI G45 Thunderbolt.
Okay.
I also have a UASP and
USB 3.0
USB 3 enclosure from ASUS that I'm going to put up a quick write-up about.
Cool.
And also an ASUS ITX board. Hoping to get at least the enclosure and the MSI board will be up this week.
Great.
Will be available this week. The ASUS ITX board review I'm hoping to get out before the next podcast.
Sounds great. Josh, you have that Maximus 5 Gene. Is that the next product on your list there?
Formula Z. The Crosshair Formula
5
Z.
Gene,
And then,
Formula Z.
and then after that is going to be the Gigabyte G1 Sniper version 3.
Goodbye.
GR Sniper.
Goodbye.
GR. And then after that, it's going to be one other ASUS motherboard, the Maximus 5.
So you guys all heard it here first on the podcast, live and recorded, all that stuff. And here's all I'm going to commit to. Next week, I'm going on vacation. Booyah! But not really. Have you ever had... Yeah, never mind. We'll get into it later.
Yes, I have.
There's a very
Hemorrhoids
obvious...
are awful. Preparation age.
There's a very obvious large project coming up. And it has completely consumed me for like the last 3 weeks, and it will consume me for at least the next week and a half. And then GDC, which I will be out there talking to some people about some stuff. So that should be fun.
It's a very good project.
It is a very good project. It's just a very long time.
Convoluted.
It makes Ryan do math, and he doesn't
Technically
like it.
difficult.
A lot of math. We'll talk about that after the show, too.
We hate the maths.
And, I don't know. Stay tuned. I hope it's worth it. I really hope that I haven't spent literally...
3 months
You can ask
ago.
my wife this. Literally, I bet the last 14 days coming into the office at like 10 a.m. and not leaving until midnight or 1 for like 14 days in a row. So far,
Yeah.
and still counting. To try to get all this data and kind of get it.
14 more days of that, you got a free divorce out of the deal.
Yeah, it's not free, son.
There's no such thing
It's
as
not
free
free.
in marriage.
But I would hate to go through all this work and somebody be like, it's
Did you notice how I was looking over my back when I said there's nothing free in marriage?
Very intelligent thing to do. Very intelligent. All right, let's get to our hardware software picks of the week before we wrap out of here. This is something I just got in recently. It is this. Anybody want to guess what it is?
It's a shot put.
It's a black
it looks
box.
really uncomfortable. It's a waveguide for laser beams.
Wee. It is a case. It's a case for an Intel NUC.
Wait, you showed that last week.
No, I didn't.
Didn't he?
After
You showed
the
the clear
podcast.
one last week.
Oh, after the podcast.
Yeah, jeez, Allyn, way to give away the after show secrets. So this is it's from Tranquil PC. They have one for the Thunderbolt version and one for the other version. And you can,
It can also be a cheese grater.
if you look at the bottom, you can see the footprint of where the hardware actually sits, right? And this bit on the outside is a little bit extra. It's very heavy. It's supposed to act as a heatsink item as well.
I bet that would put a nice laceration on Ken's head if you threw it at him.
This is heavy. It's pretty dense.
So does that thing help cool off the, what was it, the SSD and the Wi-Fi card?
I don't know about that. So my guess is that I haven't opened it yet. My guess is that the processor is being cooled by the kind of heatsink surface that we have on it. Now the rest of it, they fixed that because you can't buy that specific SSD.
Oh.
Well, but they had the updated firmware with the heat stuff, with the one we had problems with was a pre-release of the 525. Is that right? That didn't have its firmware adjusted so that it would slow back off speed if it was getting too hot. So.
Right, but my point is the thing should not be getting that hot.
The SSD? The SSD controller? It was a SandForce controller. They get pretty hot, don't they?
They do, because they draw close to an amp.
Right.
But,
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was stacked on top
Except
of a Wi-Fi card.
that new version. Or does it, Alan?
I think they should have just put like a little, mini heatsink on that thing. That's all.
Well, the way the board was designed, there's no space for it between the two. But when we open this up and take a look, and we'll obviously take our extra NUC device and put it in there and see what we get. So look for a review of that coming up soon. Let's see what Josh has on the table.
I call this cheap and pretty, which is the exact opposite of me. Actually,
that's accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's 42 inch is not huge, but it's got the passive 3D, so you don't need shutter glasses. $699.99, so $700
Not bad
for the pretty high end TV
for 1080p 120 hertz refresh.
Look how many glasses you get.
Six passive glasses.
Glasses, man. Wait a minute.
So-
The whole family can enjoy.
Passive
Yeah.
glasses?
Yeah.
Passive.
So the screen has like the crisscross polarization stuff in it?
Crisscross will make you jump. Daddy Mac.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Bringing it all the way around.
Yes.
My point is that if it does that, then you only get like half the resolution, I think, or something, right?
No.
No?
No. I'm going to go with no. I'm not sure, but I'm going
Oh.
to go with no.
No, it's
Oh, yeah, because it alternates at
full
120
resolution.
hertz.
Yeah.
Never mind. Yeah.
So, 120 hertz, 60 hertz, each kind of prism thing that does polarization. Yeah.
Yeah, it's every other frame or...
Alan, you won't be able to use your blue and red glasses from the 80s, though. Sorry.
No. Well, actually, I mean, I have the LCD shutter glasses for my Samsung set, but the darn things are... They put the battery in the bridge, and it's like... Remember the movie The Jerk? Where
Yes,
the
I'm going to
glasses
take
gave everybody, like, crazy headaches.
this remote
and-
control with me.
Yeah, that stuff. So
It made
like,
everybody cross-eyed.
It's
basically,
funny you guys
yeah.
are mentioning that because they were talking about Google Glass doing the same thing.
Well, see, yeah, and I mean those Samsung ones, you can't really sit there for 2 hours with those things on because they're just they mess you up.
They hurt Disport Bridge.
They do. It's like I don't know, man.
Makes me cry.
Anyway,
Have you ever worn Grado headphones?
what?
You get used to it.
I don't understand what's going on.
I don't know.
This podcast is out of your control now.
We're talking about old movies and stuff.
Things that go on your head. And I'm not talking TV.
Okay, Alan, what is your pick?
So there's a thing called Automatic,
Mm-hmm. I
and
see
you
it.
can go to automatic.com,
Yep,
and you can look at it.
I'm looking.
So this is a thing that's designed to sort of so if you're like me and you don't like brand new cars that have all the OnStar and
Functional devices.
all that. Well, yeah, but the thing is that stuff gets dated, right?
I meant
Really,
like
all
engines.
you need is like your phone. Usually, you're updating, right? And
Sure.
then the software on your phone can be updated much easier than software on your car.
Yep,
Arguably, right?
arguably.
So this
yeah.
thing is a hardware device that plugs into the OBD2 port on your car, which is the port that's been on every car for like the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and tells you what's wrong.
It tells you what's wrong, but among other things, it also tells you like your mileage, how much gas is in your tank, what speed you're going, all that other stuff, right? So that's really the only missing link that an app on your phone would need to act like, if you had a newer generation car with all of those bells and whistles, right?
Sure.
So Automatic is two things. It's a dongle that's a Bluetooth, wireless
This thing right here,
dongle,
right?
plugs into the OBD2 connector, which is usually under your steering wheel,
Gotcha.
under your dash, right? And then it links up with the phone, and then there's an app on the phone, and then it just
Beep,
basically
beep,
has a bunch of functionality that ties together. So
And how much is this?
$70.
it's $70.
Oh, that blows.
Now hold on. There's some more features here that make
But
it.
there's more.
No, there's stuff that makes it worth it even without the extra bells and whistles. This
And
thing
if you
will
order in
eat-
the next 10 minutes,
no, actually, it's just on pre-order. They're not shipping the thing yet. But they will. The thing will check your engine codes, tell you what they are, tell you what they mean, and you can reset your light through your phone. So
need
I
that.
can ignore necessary maintenance on my car so
well,
much
stuff
more
like
easily.
that, sort of. I guess I don't know. Does
That's
other
cool.
stuff like look for gas stations. It keeps track of prices at gas stations and tells you where like the cheapest gas is.
Calls for help in a crash.
It actually has a crash sensor in the dongle. So provided
Keep
your
saying that
phone
word.
isn't smashed to a million pieces in the accident that you got in, it will tell the phone to call for help. Basically, if you've gotten into a wreck that's like really high G-force accident.
You get push notifications.
Yeah, and it does like a whole bunch of other stuff. I think
so that's
here's
when you're
the
stuck
thing.
in the snow
I think
And you need to get some burly people to help you
I
out.
like this one. Never forget where you parked. That would
Yeah,
actually be
well-
helpful in a couple of instances I've been in.
there's actually a few apps on the phone like that. There is an app for that, right? To figure out where you're parked, but you have to launch the app and tell it, hey, okay, do this, and then when when you've forgotten where your car was, you didn't remember to have told it where it was. So this thing is just automatic. It just you turn the car off when the dongle disconnects. It marks your GPS location, right?
So okay.
Does it come with slap chop?
So here's the thing. I see them adding a lot more stuff to this because with the dongle, you can read any piece of OBD2 info from your car's computer. So I can see these guys adding extra stuff to the software later on to really open it up for more functionality. They haven't promised that, obviously, but it's just once you link those two things together, there's really a lot of info you can gather, and a lot of things you can do that are much cooler. And you don't have to, I don't know. Yeah, you don't have to mess around with updating. Anytime I've seen quote unquote like smart cars, that newer generation, whatever, the biggest issue is updating that software.
Right.
And people always have their maps are out of date, their GPS things out of date, built into their dashboard or whatnot. You have to go buy some DVD from the dealership and stick it in there and update it, and it's just
So this is all so that the government can track how fast I'm driving?
They actually have a very strict privacy thing.
I bet they do.
Thanks, Obama.
When's it supposed to ship?
Say that again?
When's it supposed to ship?
I know the Android app side version is due, I think, in the fall per their website. So I would imagine the hardware, the dongle, is due earlier.
So
than
you
that.
got as excited about this as you did with Nest. And how much money has Nest saved you?
I
Really?
have Nests though.
How much has
Yeah, I know
Nest
you
saved
do.
me? Lots.
Not you, Alan. I'm not talking
Nest
to you.
doesn't save that
Hey,
much
I got
money.
one.
You live in Austin. Who cares? San Antonio.
That's why you need the dang thing, because
What am I doing? I don't want that.
it's Texas, man. Crap gets hot, yo.
Yo.
Ships this fall. What a crock.
What?
Ken wants one, but his car doesn't have a port.
Hello, what do you mean do?
Like 1970s.
Yeah, your 87 Yugo does not have that technology.
Why doesn't it tell me when it's going to ship?
Josh, I think he has a Hot Wheels.
Nice. All right. Let's go to our last pick of the week. Morry, what did you find for us?
I have this it's a nano wireless N adapter. It's really neat. As you can see, it's tiny. The thing, it's basically it sticks out 2 centimeters or less
Sure.
when you actually plug it in. The thing I like about it is, well, it's twofold. It gets really good wireless reception. I've actually seen better wireless reception with this little thing than I have with some of the antennas included with motherboards.
Okay.
So, and it's once you plug it in, it's securely in there, and it's very hard to
It's basically
break off.
the same form factor as the nano. What do they call that? The nano receiver for like Logitech mice and stuff like that. Yeah, because I've got one permanently attached to my laptop that I never bothered to take out or anything. So
Yeah, but
Do you know what
I
the
bought it
chip is
for
for?
my. We have an older laptop that has wireless G built into it, and I wanted to upgrade it to wireless N. Saw that I picked them. I picked a couple of them up because they're only like $10 each,
wow.
and it works great. And I want to get something small so that when my wife was carrying around a laptop, she didn't break it off.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. The wireless, the idea of like little attachments. What won't that do? Is
Hey,
a
do
pain
you know
in the
what
butt.
you know what chip is in that thing, Morry? Did I say?
I do not.
Like Atheros or whoever?
No,
Qualcomm? One of those?
I don't know.
Just curious.
I'm
Probably
looking.
good. I mean, if it's getting good reception like that and it's that small.
But the
9
funny thing is that
reception.
here's
Can't be
here's the
Atheros.
packaging for the thing. Look, here's the packaging, and here's the little dongle. It's
Hold
crazy.
it up
how much
higher.
they-
We can't see.
You can't see.
Hold the
here.
ball
There you go.
higher.
There you go.
Wow, it's huge.
There's the packaging. There's
and
the
here's
dongle.
the dongle. It's huge. Look, see.
Yeah, the specs aren't telling me which chip it uses, which is not.
I mean, I
Surprising,
would
so.
think it would probably be either Qualcomm or Theros because both of those are fairly cheap to get. And I mean, there's really not much there. Most electronics in that are the USB connection.
Did Broadcom get bought up by Qualcomm? I can't remember.
I think it's Broadcom.
Broadcom.
We're saying the wrong thing.
Yeah, Broadcom.
Well, Qualcomm owns Atheros, and
Yeah.
Broadcom owns Killer NIC. No, Qualcomm owns.
Qualcomm
owns Killer NIC. Okay, that matters. Let's.
I got one more thing.
Oh, okay.
One more. Okay. So last week you saw the radiator. Okay, this is an old mod I did. It's a. Actually, see that? It's a 9800 GX2 and FXX 9800 GX2, and it actually I modded it. You know, I kept the case intact. You can see it. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I modded it with a water block in the middle. See, it's got. You know, it was one of my best mods I've done. Very clean mod.
That's
you know, I was
very cool.
able to basically hide the water cooler in it because those cards ran prohibitively hot just with the regular air cooler, or you had to, you know, the air cooler would have to run at full speed to even keep the video from pixelating while you were playing with it. So I went water with it, you know, reduced it to.
How long ago was that?
Oh, God, that was
5-6 years.
Yeah, it was 5 or 6 years ago, probably. Yeah, I mean, I ran that for a good couple of years until I upgraded to my upgrade after that was a 5870.
Nice. Josh, do you have an old piece of hardware you need to show us before we leave?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I saw him walk. I saw him look around his desk, but
He's looking
It's,
for old crap.
This is really old.
it's a bike pump.
It's a
ball
pump for an actual
pump.
physical basketball.
Physical basketball.
I mean, people actually play basketball outside.
No,
these
I
days.
play
They
basketball
need to pump.
inside.
And here is a
Oh.
book titled Bicycle Pump and You by Josh Walrath.
Alan, do you have any old piece of hardware sitting on your desk that we need to see right now?
Old piece of hardware sitting on my desk.
Okay, you want to see something really
The
old?
key to a car that is not built yet.
Okay,
that doesn't-
somebody in chat,
Jeez.
tell us what
Uh-oh.
this is.
Minnesota Twins.
God dang it. It's the old Twins.
Winner.
Winner,
You know what's
chicken
sad?
dinner.
It's sad. He's held up probably half a dozen pieces of hardware, and I haven't been able to guess exactly. But baseball hat.
Oh, another one. Yeah, here. Yeah, baseball hat. Who's this?
White Sox.
It's easy. White Sox.
Orange Sox.
Those are the old things that I've got.
Fair enough. I got nothing. All right. So we're going to wrap up the show. Thank you, everybody, if you're still listening for whatever reason. PCPar.com/podcast is the URL you can go to, subscribe to the RSS feed, download the file directly. That's the URL you should give to all your friends when wanting to learn about PC hardware and tell them about our entertaining and lively and educational show that is produced mostly once a week. And PCPar.com/live is where you should go. Come watch us on the live stream, which I didn't actually, yeah, there we go, set that up. Wednesdays at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Pacific, and I did update the timer on the website so that it is now in the correct time zone. So pay attention to that if you want to see all the upcoming events that we have. If I go ahead and look over our events now, we have This Week in Computer Hardware I'll be on tomorrow. And then on April the 2nd, we have a podcast next week. And then April the 2nd is our BioShock Infinite game stream sponsored by AMD, where you come to the PCPar.com/live. We'll play the game. We'll probably have a developer from Irrational Games on to talk about the development. Somebody from AMD will give away video cards, give away game keys, that kind of stuff. It will be a very fun event, and I highly encourage everybody to join us for that.
I'm masking my IP.
That's fine. Whatever. You can try to win if you want, Josh.
I can try
I'll know.
until I give you my address.
Anytime somebody, yeah, it sends the address. Laramie, why? What the? I'm on to you guys. All right, so we'll see you next week. I'm Ryan Schrow.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Alan Malventano.
And I'm Morry Titleman.
Thanks, guys. See ya.